only when... Hello and welcome to Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems. I'm Stephen Allen.
And I'm Eric McElroy. Hello.
Hello. So we made it to 30 episodes. Hopefully you watched that one. Man, it was a good one. It's fun. Things happen. We talked about the news. So now what we're doing is we are looking back over the last 30 episodes and celebrating the fact that, is this worth celebrating? That we still haven't found a job yet and therefore are still at home doing comedy online when no one asked for it. Whoa.
Yep. Yep. It's been, 30 plus shows over 15 weeks that we've been in lockdown. This has been our only way to connect with you, the worldwide public, whether you wanted us to or not. And I think we've had some highs and we haven't had any lows. Have we had any lows?
Oh, of course we had some lows. Look, the plan is here to play some of our favourite clips. We all know that none of us have picked anything from episode 14 because it was nothing other than the technical failure.
Oh. That was epic episode, Skype fail live with people watching. And I think was that my birthday episode where we had pushed it hard to say it's Eric's birthday, it's a special show, and
to be fair, that's exactly what everyone at the time was doing in all of the daily briefings. They do the daily briefing. Let's go to the journalist, Laura Kunzberg. And then let's go to Robert Peston. And that's just how he talks.
Yeah. So it wasn't a fuck up. It was intentional, as a level of satire that even we didn't understand at the time.
Yeah, indeed. So what the plan is, we're going to, play some of our favourite bits, our, highlights. If you've enjoyed any, get in touch on Twitter for these. You could tweet at Mr. Stephen Allen or at Eric McElroy with any of your favourite moments. But we've been compiling some of our favourites.
Yeah.
So, Eric, I'm presuming you've at least enjoyed some of it.
Yes, I have. And I think we need to start with, obviously, what brought us all here is some of the stories that we did covering COVID-19, and especially one of our favourite things that was a runner throughout the last 30 weeks, and that is masks.
You're not messing around with this COVID-19 lark, are you?
Well, I've been listening to what the Prime Minister has told us here in the UK, and he's recommended that if you're meeting up with other people in a confined space, that you should wear a mask. So I've masked up.
Well, so have I, but we've done it to a different degree. I've gone for a black mask because it's slimming.
Nice. You look good.
You've gone for ladies' hosiery?
Well, no, one of the things I've noticed when I've worn masks into shops is I felt like I'm robbing the place anyway. So I thought, why not fully embrace it? And so now when I go in, I get my eggs, I get my vodka, and I get about 100 pounds.
You get all the money in the bag. Do you know what I like about your safety-conscious nature? Is that I can tell you've got a reinforced gusset. That is how you stay safe in this coronavirus world.
Stop flirting with me, Steve. I'm a married man.
Now, I don't know if you probably can't see through your pants, which is not a phrase that I often use, but the black mask that I've got on, I struggle with because like they do with hats where they say one size fits all. And they don't fit me. And I very much feel whenever I would try on a hat that says one size fits all and it doesn't fit, I feel like society is letting me go. It's telling me I'm not part of their world. And the same is true with masks. I was told this is a one size fits all, but look what it's doing to my ears. It's making me go the full Martin Clunes. If we just, there you go, put a little bit of pressure on the sides. This is not what I look like. I look like Bob.
What I recommend, though, is if you put on a pair of nylons, you can't see your ears, Steve.
Yeah, really tucks them in. Yeah.
I can't see your ears. I can't see what you're talking. I can barely see you. I can see a dark mouth and your forehead a bit.
Yeah.
And that's about it, really.
Yeah,
so
you got all the main parts, really. I don't like wearing a mask, if I'm brutally honest. I know it's saving lives and all that, but it's made burping less fun.
Yeah. Does that. I look at it like I'm a superhero now. I've always wanted to be a mask crusader, and now I'm Batman.
You're not, are you? You're hosiery man. You are, tight man.
Batman didn't have to be. Wasn't dealing with a pandemic, was he? The Joker, piece of pish. This is a deadly virus.
Yeah, indeed. Well, welcome along. I'm going to demask because
I'm going to realize that I borrowed these from someone and they haven't been washed.
Oh, wowzers! You're swimming in pheromones there.
Yeah, that was a good one. Good times, Steve. Good times.
30 shows.
Yes. Yeah, 30 shows. So if you're just joining us, we are doing a recap of the last 15 weeks of shows that we've done here at Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems, where we have kept doing comedy because some of you have kept watching, and some of you have even given us money. Bought a drink.
Yeah, that's true.
To do it now, even though we're doing it's like one of those sitcoms that does the, that clearly the writers are on strike or something. And so they've just done it. Let's look back. And 90% of the episode is previous clips. That's basically what you're watching now.
Yeah. And the problem is it's really seductive because we've not had to sit down and write anything for this. And yet we're still churning out some content. Oh, I think we might end up doing every other week. It's just a look back at last week.
So we're going to do... we're going to basically for the next, how long do you think we can milk this? Because we did about 6 stories times 30. I mean, that's a level of maths that even Donald Trump couldn't do in his cognitive tests.
Very true.
Yeah, I don't know how many episodes that is, but we're going to milk it.
I still think we're doing it better than Friends. When they used to do theirs, they filmed a bit around it. They'd be like, oh, do you remember that time when this happened? And then they straight into the clips. Oh, didn't feel as good. That's good. That's good. Was it Rick and Morty that did a Clips episode? Someone's done a Clips episode where the clips were never broadcast. Was that?
Oh, nice.
I can't remember. We should have done that, but that would have been more effort, and that's not what we're here for. We're celebrating, we're enjoying, we're drinking.
We're celebrating, yes.
So here's something that happened over the last 15 weeks, is that catchphrases started to happen. And I never thought we'd get catchphrases. None of us aimed for catchphrases on this show, and we didn't pick them either, because they just happen in the comments section. We broadcast, we can see what people are saying. For some reason... vestibular bulbs came into it.
Oh yeah, those were good times. I remember that.
Yeah, which sounds perfectly nice now. Sounds like the kind of thing you'd hear on Gardener's Question Time.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of water.
Yeah. Oh dear. Speaking of Gardener's Question Time, we should at some point as well mention some of the off-air stuff that we've done. And we were interviewed by the BBC about this show. On the ticket on BBC Ulster, hosted by the person who does Gardener's Question Time. But I guess she doesn't talk about vestibular bulbs.
She should.
We also, for some reason, ended up with the catchphrase, Shags doll. It's not what we're aiming for in life, is it?
Yeah, but, hey, we all have to respect what we all had to do to get through this difficult time.
Exactly, yeah. So while the conversations ploughed on about the sex shops on the A1 and various things, everyone's saying Shags doll all the time, or Shags toys. I thought I'd like to play the reason we got that as a catchphrase.
Ah, nice.
There was some Dutch news about sex. Of course there was. Dutch singletons have been advised to seek a sex buddy. The theory is that what they don't want is singletons going around having random sex. It's another way of spreading the virus. Because, look, I'm not a sex expert, but you tend to be within 2 meters of someone when you're doing it. Tend to, depending on bushes. And they think it's good to find just one person that you regularly go to. You'll be minimizing the risk of spreading the disease, which, I mean, good luck making that phone call. I found it awkward enough asking someone if they wanted to be my person to meet in a park and have a drink. You might say, hi, do you fancy being my sex buddy? But I thought what we do is find out more about this. So hopefully the technology works. I should be joined on the line by a Dutch minister. Hello.
Hello, Steve.
Oh, thank you very much for joining me. I wonder if you could explain some of the thinking behind this.
Yes.
You would have been faced with a decision about priorities. Are you going to try and sort out problems to do with the economy?
Yes.
Sort out problems to do with the care of the elderly.
Yes.
And you thought the thing to sort out was sex buddies.
For sure.
Did you not think that maybe you could just do without?
Oh, you British are so prudish when it comes to sex, Steve.
Can I just check? You're not doing a Sean Connery impression, are you? You are trying to sound Dutch.
Yes.
Okay, because sometimes it's difficult sell. You've not been having random sex with people for a while now because of the coronavirus. You're about to get this freedom back. Are you worried about spreading it?
No, I've been staying supple, and I'll stretch first.
It's not quite... Do you know what? Actually, it sounds like you got it under control. Good luck to you. Sex buddies during lockdown. Where do I sign up?
I'm sorry, Steve. You can't apply.
Well, I checked your website. It doesn't actually say that you're not allowing foreigners.
No, I mean you can't apply, Steve. We may be sex-crazed, but we still have standards.
Thank you very much for joining me. Classic clips. Then we can all agree. Classic clips. That's what we're doing. Comics in quarantine, solving problems. We did 30 shows, so we're just talking about some of our favourite bits.
Yeah, and surprisingly, we got more than 30 donations. Hint. I mean, I think over the course of this, you have definitely our styles have changed a little bit. Like, because the tech got more and more involved, and you basically had less and less contact with the outside world. You got more involved in that tech. I've gone a different route. I haven't done as many of the fantastically accurate sketches as you have, but I did have a couple. And I think this next one coming up is going to demonstrate that in a moment. But it was early in the lockdown process, and people were starting to feel that loss of contact with one another, and they were going to extremes to create levels of contact, especially for the people who aren't remembered enough in a crisis like this. And by people who aren't remembered enough, I mean creatures that for some reason we keep in zoos.
Man, like, do you know what? Yes, I'm glad we never even got to the bottom of why zoos were being mentioned so damn much through the whole crisis.
Do you think it's because people felt like they were in a zoo?
Yeah.
Kind of like they were behind a screen and people were watching them.
Yeah, and I was flinging my muck around the place.
And that was before quarantine. Get in there with an old-fashioned joke, Eric. So this was one. It was a story overseas because we cover global news, and it was about the fact that animals in the zoos were missing humans, if that's possible. So we took a deep dive into that. I don't know if you saw this, and apparently it's not just people that are feeling a little bit neglected during lockdown. Apparently at an aquarium in Japan, their eels are feeling a little bit sad as well. I don't know. Do you like eels, Steve?
I mean, I've eaten them before, if that's the kind of question you're asking. I didn't realise.
No, they're not these aren't to be eaten. I know it's Japan, and they do different types of cuisine, but this is not that kind of eel. Basically, this is a story that a Japanese aquarium has urged the public to video chat with their eels because the eels are starting to forget that humans exist.
Oh, that must be terrible for them, because I commonly forget that eels exist, so I'm fine with that. Okay.
I mean, I don't know, but I didn't see in the stories, I mean, how long, these eels, I mean, I don't know if eels live a long time or what I mean, if, the joke about like the memory of a goldfish, maybe an eel, I mean, clearly an eel doesn't have the memory of an elephant because they never forget. So they're somewhere in between on that spectrum. Yeah. I would imagine. But I mean, these eels are in a tank, and I guess that means they're self-isolating as well, but they live in a tank, so they're always isolating. I don't know how old they are. I don't know if they have pre-existing conditions. I don't know what the concerns are, but I have a feeling this is a gimmick just to raise awareness for the aquarium. But I'm not going to be cynical about this, because what they've done is they've taken like iPads and put them around the tank, because in an aquarium, people go up and they look at the tank and everything else, so people can dial in and have a chat with the eels. And I thought, you know what? I'm always too cynical about these things. I want to do my part. We're in a lockdown, and so I gave them a call. Right, okay, I'm doing a bit for lockdown. I'm going to call these little eels and say hello, because they need FaceTime apparently. Here we go. Give them a little bit of a call. Come on, little eels. Come on, pick up. Oh, look at you. Look at you, you little eels. Look at you. Do you miss the people coming to see you? Do you? Do you miss them? Hello, little eel. Oh, you cute little eel. Oh, so cute. Oh, you're so cute. You're so cute. Oh, I bet you love this. Go to sleep, please go to sleep. Sleep, little man, cub, rest in peace. Sleep.
What I like about that is, was it last week when I did some videos and you said this is evidence that I was losing it?
But I think, can you get nominated for BAFTA for a live stream show? I mean, some of the performances we've been putting on here, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're losing our minds.
Yeah, yeah.
That brings back some memories, doesn't it, Steve?
It does, because that's all I've done is sit here and make these shows for quite a while now. That's what we do on the Comics in Quarantine, solving problems. We did 30 shows, and we're just like enjoying some of the highlights, some of our favourites. And actually, do you know what we should do? At some point, we should do some of our least favourites. I'd be willing. I don't know if we bothered to live broadcast that one or just put it up on the internet of just like a 10-minute show of I hated this one.
Yeah, this is where I let myself down.
Yeah, it's not funny.
Or that moment where I had an idea, because we only normally in live comedy we have the audience to react of, but here we are speaking to each other, and we're doing this because we've known each other a long time, and we generally make each other laugh, and so there's nothing better than you or me, I'm supposed the other way, being the only audience member I have, and setting something up and having that sort of look of, oh. Yeah, is that the end of it? I have to be honest, when I was going through the clips to pick which ones I wanted to put in our recap show, there were a few times where you definitely did that to me. And I think I'm a very generous audience member. I try and react to you in the moment to give you that feedback, and there's definitely, not that I've thought, had to talk to my wife about this.
There's some, if you watch back all the clips, and they're all on YouTube, you can see some real genuine laughs coming from this side of the screen. But I'm not saying they're always. If I don't understand the bit, because our other option would be to tell each other what our jokes are beforehand, so that we know. Yeah. But then you'd lose the reality of this.
That's right. So there are times where we don't make each other laugh.
Yeah.
But that's not what this show is about. This show is about the clips that at least made us laugh.
Although we've not agreed which clips we're bringing, so you might put one in, and at the end of it, I might be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that." So we'll see as we go on.
I shouldn't have brought this up, should I?
Although I shouldn't have tempted fate before I play one of mine in. The reason I picked this next clip is I think this was the first time I started to film on location, and we were only allowed to remain in our homes at the time. So the location I filmed in was my flat. Which most things, there were episodes where I was running out of rooms. I think I filmed in every single room in this place, both bathrooms. Yeah. Hello, 2 bathrooms.
Wow, didn't realize you were doing that well.
Yeah.
TV. It's the TV thing, isn't it?
TV bathroom money. But this was the first time I filmed in the kitchen. Eventually, Steve's kitchen became like a whole thread. But the reason I was in the kitchen, first of all, it was an instructional video, and it was about alcohol, basically. I think a lot of research is saying how people have been drinking more and eating more during this whole lockdown thing. Yeah. Trying to... There are so many shows that I did without the top button done up, especially at the start of this as well.
So there's a way to pull up a tie. If ladies don't know this, you can pull a tie up and not actually button the top button. And because we're not moving, you can never tell.
Although there was one episode where I forgot about that. Redid my headpiece at the back and just left a massive gap. But that's not... again, that could be in the show of things we didn't like. This is things we did like when I decided to become effectively like Tom Cruise in the film Cocktail. And I don't mean like annoying, I mean good at making cocktails. Have a look. Stanley Tucci guy, is that his name?
Yes, the actor. Yeah,
he makes a cocktail, streams the video, or uploads the video, and people love it. Did you know what I did?
What did you do, Steve?
I made a video of me making a cocktail. Hello, I'm TV's Stephen Allen. You might know me as Stephen Allen. And look, there's been lots of celebrities making their own cocktails and doing how-to videos. It's a great way to help us cope with the lockdown. You may have seen the one that Stanley Tucci, famous actor and waistcoat wearer, did. I'm going to do mine. I've done some prep. So I'm going to talk you through how you can make a cocktail that I have been drinking a lot during the lockdown. I call this sex nowhere near a beach because we're not allowed. You're going to need a big tumbler because we're mixing. So as your base spirit, you could use gin, but I prefer to go for the cleaner 3 fingers of vodka. Pour that straight in there. 3 fingers right in, etc. Now, the next level, we want to add to it a light rum. Don't use a dark rum. You do not want to overdo it with the dark spirits on this one. I didn't have any light rum in, so a little bit of extra vodka. It's all just adding to the base anyway. Next up, to give it the sharp edge that it has, you will want a sweet vermouth. You could try and use a bitter vermouth or an aloof vermouth, but I think the sweet one just ends up with a better drink. I didn't have any in because I'd finished it, so vodka. Then we're moving on to, now this is what gives the drink its colour, because, beach related. We're going to go for brandy, just gives it that kind of slightly brown edge. Couldn't get to the shops to get any, so vodka. Now, to finish this drink off, you're going to need a bitter fruit. A loganberry, a gooseberry would be great. Couldn't get any, so more vodka just to finish this off. And there we have it. Sex nowhere near a beach, because we're not allowed. I'm not coping. There we go. I think we can all understand why that made it to the list of some of our favourite bits over the last 20 shows on Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems. That's what I put in there, and I'm happy with it.
Good. Since you chose it, I'm glad you're happy with it. I mean, if you chose it and you weren't happy with it, that would be, it would be typical of what a lot of comedians do to themselves.
There's so many of the sketches in here. When I wrote the secondary character is just ripping me to crap, and there are some of the clips when I'm meant to be getting a laugh from a fake audience, but instead we get a boo. You're right. It's just something wrong with the mind of a comedian.
Yeah, but yes, I mean this. Looking back over a show that we've done over 3 months, and obviously it's been done. I mean, the reason we started doing the show essentially because we were in lockdown because of COVID-19, and we just had to do something. And so we thought, well, we'll try and solve people's and the world's problems, and I think we have essentially failed at that miserably. But as it's gone on now, the crisis, because I mean, it was March that we locked down in the UK. Surprisingly, I mean, it took a while, but other stories have started to kind of break through, haven't they?
That's true.
We've seen, I don't know, Russia Gate is now a thing, in the UK. That's been kind of in the last couple of weeks. That's kind of come through.
Huawei.
Huawei, which we are partly using to help broadcast the show. So we like your work.
Please don't turn us off again.
Please don't turn us off again. Maybe that was why one of our episodes didn't work. Maybe did I have any jokes there about Huawei? If I did, I don't anymore. But one thing we didn't talk about, if we had done the show a year ago, we would have been talking about Brexit. I don't think we talked about Brexit in one of the 30 plus episodes that we've done.
And it's great, isn't it? Don't you prefer it?
So weird. But it's still happening. Like, I know people go, we already left. We left. Yes, but we're still in the same trade agreement until the end of December, and then we are well and truly fine. Anyway, let's not get into that.
but before we shift on from that, actually, I think coronavirus has almost taken our eye off the caring, because we're not going to find out what the result is. I was wondering, is Brexit going to be great or not? And it turns out everything's not going to be great, but not because of Brexit. So now it's like indeterminate. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess now the Brexiteers will say, if it doesn't go well, it's because of COVID-19.
Yeah. And if it does go well, they'll say it's because of that. But then Remainers will find some reason. Yeah, everyone just has their own flipping team, and I'm sick of the anger. So you're right. It's good that we've not been talking about it.
Yeah. So, but there has been, other stories that have slowly trickled through over the last 3 months, and this is coming up one of them. Obviously, the big news still that has managed to surpass COVID-19 as the world global story is the movement that we're in right now with Black Lives Matter, and looking at some things that, whether it's an old statue or perhaps the name of an old military base, whether it's really appropriate in 2020 anymore. And in the U.S., it turns out, and I did not know this, and I'm a fairly proud American, Steve. Did you know that 10 of the U.S. current Army bases are named after generals, but those generals are Confederate generals?
Ooh, interesting.
I'm not sure how familiar you are with the history of the United States and the Civil War of the United States, where one part of the United States broke away and tried to attack the original United States. Those were the Confederates. So you would think that naming bases after them, it would be basically like a lot of people have said, well, the English named Waterloo as a station, as sort of to the French. It'd be like the French naming one of their stations Waterloo.
Okay, nice.
Flicking it around. You've embraced the fact that you've lost the war. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. So the Army actually said this week that they wanted to look at renaming these bases, that naming these huge military outposts after these failed generals probably didn't make a lot of sense. Now, of course, the Army said that, but you can imagine what Trump and his administration said. They weren't so keen. as you can see.
Bragg is known for the heroes within it that trained there, that deployed from there, and it's an insult to say to the men and women who left there the last thing they saw on American soil before going overseas, and in some cases losing their lives, to tell them that what they left was inherently a racist institution because of a name. That's unacceptable to the president, and rightfully so.
Yeah. That is unacceptable. That those soldiers who are leaving those bases in the United States, that the last thing they see is the name of a place like Fort Bragg, right? Those soldiers, many of whom are predominantly African American, and the last thing they see before they leave the country that they are dying to defend is the name of a fort named after a Confederate general that tried to keep them in slavery. How dare they try and change that name?
Yeah.
Now, the base that she's talking about is called Fort Bragg in this instance. Now, General Bragg, we've got a picture of him so we can see him somewhere. There we go. There's General Bragg. Nice guy. A little bit of research on General Bragg, as I do on Wikipedia, because, you know, we take the time to invest in the quality of this show. In the first section of his Wikipedia page, it says, and I quote, Bragg is generally considered among the worst generals of the Civil War. Most of the battles in which he engaged in ended in defeats. Bragg was extremely unpopular with both the men and the office of his command, and the losses which Bragg suffered are cited as the principal factors in the ultimate defeat of the Confederacy.
It's great. Bragg by name, very much not Bragg by nature.
You can see why Trump likes him, though, because if Bragg was in business, he would have had 7 bankruptcies as well.
Yeah.
Now, Trump doesn't want to change the name because he's tied himself to racists and to fascists and all these kinds of things. So you can see why he's like, no, the Confederacy is the only way he could possibly win re-election again is to get all the white nationalists out to vote for him. But there is one way that we could get him to change the name. Trump loves branding. So all we have to do is change the name from Fort Bragg. We've got a suggestion right here. Fort Bone Spur.
He likes
Problem
anything.
solved.
Yeah, anything where he's mentioned, he'll love it.
You'll love it. See, I'm bringing people together.
Look,
Recognizing change needs to happen.
There is an argument that if you're going to have a statue to any Confederate general, ones who lose really badly are exactly the pick-me-up that the rest of America needs, just to remind
Maybe he
them.
was secretly working for the Union after all.
He probably did more for the Union's success than many Union generals.
Oh, the memories, Steve. The memories.
They never did like this in the Friends episodes where they play clips. It's Comics in Quarantine, solving problems with some of our favourite clips of the last 30 episodes. I had to include one of these, and I apologise for it ahead of time. There are only 2 occasions when we've done musical numbers, and both of them involved me failing to sing because I can't sing.
Yeah, I didn't even try to sing.
Yeah. Back in the day when I used to do sketches on radio, I used to use auto-tune, but for this show, too busy with the video. I don't have to edit video. And this is a story that you actually brought to my attention about Bryan Adams. I didn't know about it early in the day. And then by the time we came to air, I got my guitar out for the first time in 10 years and made this mess. Yeah. Enjoy. Bryan Adams. Hit the headline. Bryan Adams is accused of racism for blaming coronavirus on bat-eating, wet market animal selling beeps. Look, we've lost work because of this. And I didn't take to Instagram and start insulting people from China just because all my gigs have disappeared. But I don't earn as much money as Bryan Adams, so I have lost less money in comparison. I'll give him that. But if ever there's one song that you should do a parody on when it comes to Bryan Adams, we all know what it is. And I thought this might cheer him up. So Bryan Adams, if you're watching, this is to cheer you up. Howdy, I'm Stephen Allen, and here is my guitar. And this is my obvious parody song tribute to Bryan Adams. I got my first real virus, and it came from a bat, because they've got the wet markets, but we're not supposed to mention that. We weren't allowed in school, and the roads, they were empty. Coughed till my lungs bled, was the summer of 2020. When I look back now, that lockdown seemed to last forever. And if I had a choice, I would have bought more loot paper. That was the worst summer of my life. There you go. There we go. That's some of the effort that we put into the world of comedy for you. Hope you enjoyed it.
That's right. Thank you for watching one of our recap shows that we're doing this summer of the last 30 episodes of Comics in Quarantine Solving Problems. These were some of our favorite bits. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, we are still broadcasting every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 o'clock in the UK. And also, if you enjoyed it, we are still Unemployed Comics. Yeah. So if you'd like to chuck us a drink, you can do that on the link there, and it will be very much appreciated.
Lovely stuff. So we'll do another one of these Thursday, 9 o'clock.
There we go.
Send us messages and whatever till then. And yeah, we'll see you then for another one of these.
Bye.